Hello, nami higon apnian saise Hornbilltv. Aji Hornbilltv kan Nuklu Phom lugo exclusive interview thegula ase. Nuklu Phom do Conservationist aro environmentalist ase Longland district para. Taidu Lumsa Chenlok Society laga chairman aro team leader ase. Kun bosti manukan ge biodiversity conserve aro preserve kurule assist kure sustainable livelihood karne. Taidu talaga pal gam karne poila bi award bishi paigina ase. 2018 de Lumsa Chenlok Society do Indian Biodiversity Award paishe aro 2021 de Governor's Gold Medal bi paishe. Arutai recently prestigious Whitley Awards 2021 establishing a biodiversity peace corridor karne bi jidi inase. Ahibi tailugo interview kurasawa.
Opportunity given through Hornbilltv for introducing our works and giving us this platform. I am Nuklu Phom from village of Yaungyemchen in Longling district. Before I came to this platform, I was teaching in a theological college, and then with the invitation of our community, I served as the executive secretary of the Phom Baptist Christian Association from 2008 to 2017. And after my terms got over, I took up this responsibility of being a team leader of Lumsa Chenlok in my village of Yaungyemchen, Alayong in Sanglu. This is a small community development program, and thank you once again for this opportunity.
Can you educate the Hornbilltv about what it means to establish a biodiversity peace corridor in Nagland?
You see, peace isn't just limited between human to humans, but it encompasses the entire ecosystem. You look at our generation today, if there is a conflict between two communities or maybe two nations, there is a third party to intervene, and there is that conflict management. But what we are looking at today is the threat that humanity is experiencing. And that threat has been designed by humans themselves. And the biggest threat is the environment. Environment has become, has come down so heavily upon humanity. And you see the depleting environment. The water system is going down. You are also experiencing the new alien pests and insects that are destroying crops and vegetations. The waterborne in the villages are, going down. So these are becoming a big threat. When we talk about global warming, we are not talking about just what is happening in the national, international podium, but climate change and global warming is felt within our own context. And what I just said, people are experiencing that, and that has become a big threat to humanity today. We have been experiencing cyclonic storms, earthquakes has been taking place, and nature has come so heavily upon us. So the whole concept of biodiversity peace corridor is to bring together communities to set aside forests, conservation, and also, augment the ecosystem. And so what we do is in the next 5-10 years, when clusters of biodiversity conservation is being set, it is our vision, it is our belief that the environment will be improved. And on the other hand, when there is a biodiversity conservation being set, wildlife are going to generate, and that's how the ecosystem will be improved. So communities will come together, work together to safeguard our Mother Earth. At the same time, we are going to create a space for wild species, and that's how communities are going to come together. We will give free access to wild species, and with this venture, we believe that in the next 5-10 years, there will be an improvement in the ecosystem. So the whole concept of biodiversity peace corridor is to involve communities, give enough space to wild species and biodiversity so that we coexist together and we become sustainable.
What has been your biggest struggle in this journey?
When I first started this, the concept was community biodiversity conservation, and very honestly I was alone, and convincing the community who took hunting and logging as their sports and also for income generating activities was a big challenge. Convincing the hunters who had been hunting for decades was a big challenge. Financial constraint was also one of my problem, because people always look for alternative livelihood because they have been hunting, they have been looking for their sustainability. And so, convincing this economically constrained community was a big challenge. When I developed this whole concept of biodiversity peace corridor, again, I went around to different communities, but again, with the coming of the COVID crisis, we could not, travel to different places. Though we had virtual communication, letters were written and sent to communities. But these are some factors, and very honestly, in the beginning, convincing those people who were engaged in hunting wasn't a walk into the Garden of Rose.
Alright, in a state like Nagaland, where plenty animals and birds are consumed, what made you a conservationist?
I think first of all, I don't consider myself to be a conservationist or an environmentalist. My background is theology, and I have been working in the church. But what I do today is just what I learned from the Bible, because Bible has so much to talk about: science, philosophy, religion, even environment. And so what I do today is all based on the lessons that I learned from the Bible. I read the Bible with different lenses, and this is how I gather the information. In fact, when I was very young, I was very close to my grandfather. I would consider him to be an environmentalist. His ancestors and all of them, their batch of friends, knew what to take and what not to take. And so when I was very young, I was very closely attached to him, and they would always talk to me about how their generations were very close and attached to environment. For their survival, they have always depended on the forest. But like I said, they knew what to take and what not to take. And he would always tell me that generation hereafter, especially during our generation, if we are not careful, we will find it very difficult to survive, because the environment will be affected so much. And today, even after his death, I realized that whatever he said was a prophecy, and these things are happening today. And so when I was in the church, I had the opportunity to travel to many different places, to different communities. And as I traveled, I saw the depleting environment. The other factor was when I was doing my master's, I took up a course on environment ecology. And when I finished my master's, when I was teaching in a theological college, I personally opted to teach a course on ecology, and I started writing papers and started speaking in different seminars and workshops and advocating, the importance of environment protection. And I see that, ecology itself is a spirituality. And so having convinced and having, convicted with this, when I was in the church, I took the platform to sensitize the people about, how community members, how the church members should, take the responsibility of conserving forests, and also our concern towards environment was also sensitized. And so after my term got over in the association, I decided to go down to my village and take up this biodiversity conservation as a model in my village, which has turned out to be a success. And I'm very happy to my ancestors for giving me this knowledge that I should focus on community conservation.
All right, would you like to give any words of advice for the aspiring conservationists?
First, let us reduce animal meat if you want to join in this venture. Let us first be convicted that the environment, the ecosystem is destroyed, and in return, it has come down so heavily on us. You see, the production of our vegetations are going down, water sources are going down. It is being reported that the water ponds are being abandoned. There is also this alien pests and insects emerging. We have heard about this during the last 5-10 years. Recently, we have heard about this Spoteptera frugiperta, what in our layman's language we call the fall army worm. It has started attacking maize, ginger, orchard, and other agri and horti products. And so with this trend, human survival will be a huge challenge. Let me explain from a layman's perspective what is biodiversity. You see, there are certain species, for example, like the birds, they will eat the germs, they will eat the worms from trees and from different areas. And after they consume that, they will go and then, drop their pellets, or what we call it, the
their waste. And wherever these pellets or their droppings are being dropped, there is a germination of new trees. And these trees are also like water recharging trees. These are trees which have nitrogen fixation capacities. And so with this, there is a regeneration of forests, and there is also this water recharging points. But what is happening is we shoot up all this. Now there is a new scientific research. It is also being said by a few experts that, when you cross certain 45 years, 50 years, there are patches that appears on our skin. And it is just a research, but it is being, discussed and deliberated that it is because of eating jungle meat. It is because of consuming jungle meat. So these are some of the, further research scholars and universities must take up. But coming to the point, what has happened is environment has come so heavily upon us. And one of the reasons in our own context, we may not be able to talk about the whole entire, global warming and, climate change. But this is being felt in our own context because, like I said, the alien pests and insects attacking our vegetations. One of the reasons could be we have been bringing foreign crops, you see, and then without understanding, without studying the conduciveness of the soil and the crop compatibility and climate adaptability, we have been introducing many foreign crops. I think that needs to be technically and scientifically studied. In our own context, in the local context, what the farmers are doing is they have been using chemicals, for example, like the common salt spraying, which has, affected the environment, especially the, the forest in, large quantum. So if we want to live happily in future, I think all of us needs to join in this protection of the environment. And how do we do that? I think we need to stop random trimming and cutting down of trees, and we need to be a little kind to the wild species because you see they help us. When we stop killing them, in return they will help us. So this is what you understand as the biodiversity. So I would like to invite all those who are watching the Hornbilltv and who will be listening to this small message, please join us in our mission of setting aside forests, stopping, hunting randomly. Let us be a little kind to wild species because they are protecting us. And if we do that, humans and the wild species and the environment, the ecosystem will coexist together. It will be a sustainability for each other.
All right, what do you plan to achieve next?
Peace isn't just limited between human to human, but it encompasses the entire ecosystem. I hope to involve thousands of people for setting up biodiversity conservation in different areas, covering some 16, some 20, 30, if not even 50 in the next 5-10 years. These communities will come together to discuss issues related to safeguarding floral and faunal species. With this in progress, their social bonding will be more firm and secure, and gradually invite more communities to join the movement. Ultimately, I hope to create a conducive peace corridor, bringing communities to solve their social conflicts, share their space with wild species in order to coexist with humans without any threat.
Right, what brought about your passion specifically to the Amur falcon?
When I look at the Amur falcons are very selective of their settlement or even their stopover. They look at the conduciveness of the entire ecosystem, the sun rays in the morning as well as in the evening, the clean water system for them to bath and drink, and the areas from where they get sufficient food and build their stamina before they fly back to South Africa, which takes them 5 days and 5 nights. That's a very long journey. Most importantly, they know the season. They come at the right time when the flying termites have just emerged from the underground, which is their primary food. And by the time they fly to South Africa, it is learned that the vegetations have just sprouted and they continue to feed on insects that appears to eat the vegetations. Something so unique about the Amur falcons is they connect landscapes, they bring communities together, and most importantly, this species protects humanity by taking away the insects which otherwise they destroy crops, vegetations. A lesson for humanity to learn. Most important thing about this Amur Falcon and why I'm so passionate is they bring together policy makers, experts, scientists, universities, and even lay people like us. And we come to a common platform and we talk about conserving this species. And that's why Amur Falcon has become so dear to us.
All right, we have this one last question for you. Who actually motivated you to, take up this conservation initiatives?
Well, like I said in the beginning, I think it was my grandfather and their friends, a circle of friends who actually influenced me to take up these conservation initiatives, because what they said when I was very young is happening today. But to mention some of them who had really, developed that passion in me is our former Chief Secretary, late Sri Tamjan Doi, who was my mentor, and along with him, Sir Manipal John, the Commissioner and Secretary, Government of Nagaland, Mr. Y.K. Keto, who is the Agriculture Production Commissioner, Government of Nagaland, and my dear brother and Sir Reverend Dr. Jingmak and his wife Putoli, who had really encouraged me and who had been there with me in all my difficult times when there were many challenges. Sri Dharmendra, who is also the PCCF of the Government of Nagaland, and Sir Supung, Nukshi, and Tumchen Yabang, who had been very influential. Our Longling Divisional Forest Officer, Mr. Bizo, IFS, who has been very encouraging, and especially to mention Dr. Suresh, a senior scientist in Wildlife Institute, Dehradun, India. These were some of the people who had really influenced me. There were challenges, and at times I decided to give up. But these officers, these personalities were the ones who had always encouraged me to, continue. They were always supportive. They gave me guidance. They were like my mentors. And with their advices and their encouragement, I have been able to come to this stage, though I have not accomplished so much. All this little thing that I do, the credit goes to them. And so I would like to say thank you to them, and also especially to my wife, Caroline, and my kids who have been supporting me always. And especially my community members of Yaung Yamchen, the village council, the community members, and my small team in Lamsa Chalok. They have been very supportive, and thank you to them for bringing me to this stage.
Well, thank you so much once again. Hornbill TV wishes you the best in all your endeavors.
Well, thank you from our side, from our very humble team, that you have given us this platform to talk about what little that we do. And I believe that through your Hornbill TV, our story will be told to different communities, and we will come together and then join in this mission of setting aside biodiversity conservation and improve our ecosystem. Thank you, and God bless you.
Moikanitia hunia nishna Nuklu Phom pra gwalaka hisabte biodiversity aro ecosystem kan preserve kuro karne communities kan ekilogot ekta platform de ahigina forest conserve kuro lage aro biodiversity bachawole lage. Kitia amikan biodiversity conserve kuro, wildlife species can be generate kuro aro itubra amikan daga ecosystem be improve hobo. Moikan sop go exist guribule karne hat milagina wildlife species conserve kuro lage inika hoile amikan sustainable hobole parbo. To aji laga exclusive interview mani hobo aro apni han side gibi Hornbill TV.